There we go. Just waiting for people to turn up. Hello. While we're waiting for people to turn up, I'd love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. So where are you from? What part of the world are you in? Mary Ellen, you've been here before, haven't you? That last name looks familiar. And I know you're not a client because I would have remembered spelling that. So where are you from? Just while we're waiting for everyone to turn up. Oh, what am I doing here? Where? Sacramento, California. I was there, geez, back in the 70s. Haven't been there since, but I know I was there. I don't remember anything about it. I was a teenager. Anyway, okay. So, it's a really slow start today. Facebook's notoriously a very slow start, and then it picks up and gets crazy at the end of the session, usually. And it's summertime too. People are going away. Okay, so, oh God, I just get sweaty. Okay, so let's just get going. I've only got like 7 people. Should I even start now? 9 people. Usually wait till I get about 50. Yeah, I might wait a minute. Hopefully more people will start turning up. Sorry, I'm just doing some work while I'm... Do you ever get obsessed with pens? I have so many pens, it's unbelievable. And I change them out all the time. And I mix leads in different holders. Nuts with pens. Weird. Okay. 2-year-old always saying no, just ignore it. If they say no, there's something they need to do, pick them up and make it happen. Okay, we're going in the car. No, pick them up and make it happen. You make a request and make sure it's a fair and reasonable request. Say, okay, we're going now. No, and then you take action. You don't keep talking. Yeah. Okay, so let's just get going. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. I do have a wait list with coaching. I took on several new clients over the weekend, and I think I've got room for one today. Depends on the age, though. I have to check the ages that I'm working with. Sometimes, geez, a while ago, I had all teenagers, almost all teenagers. I think I usually have about 50 clients at a time, but they come and go, right? Depending on how things are going. If things are going really well, I say, let's just bank the sessions, and then you can come back whenever you want. I made that number up. I don't know how many I've got. I would say probably more than that, because a lot of people just bank sessions. Once we get things sorted out, why bother keep talking if we don't have anything to sort out? Okay. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. Okay. So that's my link above. Everything's on there. You can check that out. And my daughter said she was just working on my homepage for that site. I'm just going to check it out now. She's always working on stuff. Oh, I see what she did. Ooh, very good. She's very good at all that stuff. She works with me. Okay. Any advice for a kiddo with multiple oral surgeries as baby hasn't figured out food? Still on Pedialyte, I always say that wrong, formula at almost 3 years old. Okay, that's more of a specialty kind of thing, and I'm not a doctor or medical professional. If you want my help as a parent trying to guide your child through this, you could hire me, but I would have to ask a lot of questions. And yeah, I don't think you really need coaching for that, but that's the only way I would kind of address that, because that's sort of more, a little bit off the beaten path. Okay. I had a client this morning, and I told her this too. She was so organized. It was very impressive. She had all her questions, and it just came to almost exactly 1 hour. She had all of her questions all lined up. Wow. I was so impressed with that. I forgot to ask her what she does for a living, but yeah, some people just, the sessions just, and then another question I have, and they just had all, it was really interesting. I love coaching. It's my favorite thing in my job. Okay, I'm just waiting for your questions. I got a couple people on YouTube. I just want to thank you for your support across all my platforms. I hit 1.3 million. It was, I think it was just 3 weeks ago, I was 1.2 million. So I just want to thank you for your support. A huge part of like YouTube's my smallest, but it's not social media. It's a search engine, so it's quite different. But I just want to thank you for your support. It means a lot to me. And it enables me to spend all this time getting all my information out there and helping parents. And remember, that behavior board is completely free. You can try that for free, see how it goes. It starts at the age of 3. So, and then all these lives are free. This is the only place I actually answer parenting questions because I can't possibly do it elsewhere because I get hundreds every day. So, okay. Any tips on how to encourage a 15-year-old to say things nicely? Example, not what you say, but how you say it. Yeah, that's the attitude department. I don't address that with teenagers. That usually improves once you're a leader. Now, leadership with a teenager, it is challenging. But if you were to hire me for this is how it goes with teenagers. Not saying you need to hire me. There's a wait list right now anyway. But this is how it goes with teenagers. And I specialize in teenagers. I would say the first session or 2 sessions is nothing but connecting with your teenager. And it is about backing off and not micromanaging them and not expecting anything of them. Okay. Once we get your relationship sort of a little bit healthier with your teenager, the attitude gets better. It's just the way it is. I'm going to read my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1 is you listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. Number 2 is you negotiate pretty much everything. It goes something like this. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? It's not a blanket statement, but do it with as much as possible. Number 3 with teenagers, don't sweat the small stuff. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? Or do you want to hear what I did this morning? We all do dumb things. That's okay. I want to add a 4th one to that, actually. I'm not going to say it right now, but I just decided today through a client, I thought I got a really good one. Teenage tip. Yeah, I'm going to add a 4th one to that. Well, I will tell you what it is. I just talked about it quite extensively yesterday on a live. Okay, don't leverage the good times to talk about the bad times. Whenever you get close to your teenager and they start opening up to you, one huge mistake a lot of parents make is they leverage that openness to start talking about things that are bothering them. They will never talk to you again if you do that. Do not leverage the good times to talk about the bad times. That is not the time to do it. Just enjoy. If they're playing video games with you or you're going out shopping and you're having fun together, just have fun. Do not leverage the good times to talk about the bad times. Huge mistake. They will shut you right out. And rightly so. Think about it. How would you feel if someone did that to you? You let your guard down. You're all, chatty and friendly. Okay, let's talk about what a jerk you are. That's basically what parents do. So yeah, I'm going to add that one to that. Just a second. I know where I'm going to add it. Don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. Okay, sorry, I just wanted to get that in there. I know if I don't do it right now, I never will. Okay, there we go. This is from Marcia. I appreciate you so much. We are keeping our great-granddaughter several days a week. I love your ideas on treating behavior. She's 16 months. Oh, she's tiny. Okay, she's still just hit the toddler. I think babies are 0 to 15 months. Toddlers are 16 to 35 months. 3 and 4-year-olds are preschoolers. 5 and 8-year-olds are school age. 9 to 12 are tweens or preteens. And then 13 plus is teenagers. That's just my own personal view on how I've done that. So yeah, she's just become a toddler. Toddlers they generally know right from wrong pretty young. They get it. They know they shouldn't hit. They know this, right? They get that. What they lack is impulse control. It's not a lack of understanding that causes them to act out. It's just a lack of impulse control. So if you understand that and you just do consistent corrective actions, they eventually will learn. All those bad behaviors will eventually start to peter out. They'll diminish in intensity, frequency, and duration. But it's a slow burn, okay? Toddlers don't learn overnight. I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. That's a mouthful. Number 1, childproof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3, when you want to connect with a toddler, you do so in their world. You don't go to the nail salon with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. Number 4 is kind of similar. When you want to discipline a toddler, you do so in their world. They're not about words. They're about actions. So you use consistent corrective actions, and you have to be consistent. It's an action. It's not words, okay? And then number 5 is stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure outable. They're just forming. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They might even go like this and smear poop on the wall. Figure that one out. Like, they just don't make sense yet. I always call them crazy. It's just that they haven't developed sanity yet. Okay. So toddlers are the most demanding physically. Teenagers are the most demanding emotionally. Once you understand toddlers, they're actually quite easy. Once you understand teenagers, they're quite lovely. So yeah. Are you rolling your eyes at me? Yeah. Teenagers, lovely. They're my favorite age. So got a 15-month-old that won't nap longer than 20 minutes once a day. Why do you? My kids stopped napping at 12 months old. Why are you trying to force a nap on a child who doesn't need one? So I don't understand that. That's your own agenda, not theirs. They just might not need it. Just like my kids. They had the accidental naps, but they stopped regular naps at 12 months old. Just didn't need a lot of sleep. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to read Tanya on YouTube. Do you have any advice for a 3-year-old who hates losing? If we race and I don't let him win, you let him win. So he's used to that. So you've trained him to be a sore loser. Okay. If I don't let him win, every time, for instance, he cries and gets upset. I'm sure it's typical. How do you handle that? Okay. So if he's a sore loser, it means that you've put a big emphasis on winning. They don't understand winning and losing unless you teach them that winning is great and losing is lousy. My mother did a really good job with that. My brother and I were both really good sports. We play to win, but we don't care if we win, if that makes any sense. We'd rather play well and lose than just win through luck. She never emphasized winning. She always said, geez, you played well. You're such a good sport. How polite. You congratulated the winner. So she put all the emphasis on how we play, not the outcome. So yeah, you've kind of built that. They're not born sore losers or good winners. You know what I mean? Everyone's a good winner, but they're not born sore losers. You've taught them that. It's a learned behavior. Okay, another question. He's been getting outbursts of anger, and I can tell he tries hard to hold himself back from impulses. I want to talk to him through it, but you don't talk him through it. Okay. Yeah, you did for sure, Tonya. She just said, I guess I did put it in. Yeah, it is learned behavior. It just is. We're not born sore losers. It's just not the way we are. Okay. Okay. I don't quite know how to answer that because I got a lot of different questions for you. Okay. He's 3 for 3-year-old. Okay. 3 is a crossroads. 3 is a fork in the road. If you're not a leader, they get worse. If you're a leader, they get better. What I mean by that is at 3, they stop and they realize, have I got a leader for a parent? If so, I think I'll just be really nice all the time because there's no point in being naughty. My parent knows what to do. So, and then they feel good about themselves. Or if you're a pleaser and you're always trying to please them and you're not a leader or, whatever, they stop and they think, you don't know what the heck you're doing. I think I'll take over. And they get worse. It's a fork in the road, 3 years old. A lot of parents say to me, they were fine until they turned 3. And I'm like, yeah, no, that's why. It's because they stopped and they thought about it. You don't know what the heck you're doing. I think I'm going to take over. That's what they do. Excuse me. That's all I'm going to take off. Don't worry about it. At my age, that's enough. Okay. We have a 19-month-old that laughs anytime you try or correct and discipline. He thinks everything is a game. Very loving child with excellent communication, just stubborn. Okay, if he laughs, you're not using actions, you're using words. Yeah, so how do I explain this? Let's say, as an example, let's say he hits with a toy, and then you say, no, you shouldn't do that, and then he starts laughing. I would not talk like that to him. He hits with a toy, I would say no. I'd take the toy and put it where he can see it, but can't touch it. And then I would just walk away. Actions, consistent corrective actions. You're using words. I'm guessing you're using words. Those mini therapy sessions is what makes them laugh at you. The mini therapy sessions discussing right from wrong and what they should and shouldn't do. They're about actions, not words. Those mini therapy sessions were invented to make moms feel good about themselves. They're not for the kids. They're just for the mom. They have nothing to do with the toddler. Nothing. They do not need therapy sessions. They do not need to discuss their big emotions and their big feelings. That's all a bunch of garbage. Drives me nuts. Sorry, but so stupid. Toddlers are not about words. They're about actions. Respect them enough to discipline them in their world, which is actions. Okay. I even see this sometimes that parents will get down on the kid's level and say, use your words. How patronizing is that? That's someone who doesn't understand a toddler. How patronizing. Use your words. In other words, your communication isn't good enough. You're kicking and screaming, which is their communication. That's just fine by me, but I know how to deal with it. But yeah, I don't discuss it. I was definitely a pleaser parent with my children, and now I have made 14-year-old who is emotional and verbal outbursts. How do I change? You have to hire me for that. It's not too late. I specialize in teenagers. It's not too late. It's tough, though. It's tough. And I'll be honest, some parents of teenagers have to hire me twice. So yeah, it's not easy, but you got 14 years to get where you are. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be 14 days to get you out of that. So it's mostly about bonding and connecting with your teenager. You have to learn to let a lot of stuff go. You have to get tough skin. Okay. It's hard. It is hard, but it's my favorite age. I wouldn't do it if I wasn't getting results for parents. Not every single one of them, I'll be honest. Some of them are just too far gone. Not the kids, the parents. They just can't take it. They just say, I can't take the abuse anymore. So yeah, I feel bad for them because I get it. They're damaged, the parents. I'm not saying you're there, but a lot of parents. I deal with teen crisis work, so I've seen a lot. Okay. Okay, I don't know how old he is. You have to tell me the age. Kid on the couch? I don't know how old. And I don't go back and cross-reference your past questions. So you have to treat each question like a standalone. Okay, and don't do continuous. Oh, he's 3. I don't know who's answering that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't go back and reference all the who asked what. Okay. I'm going to read out. What did I just write down? Okay. This is interesting. I was just talking to someone today, a client, and I was talking about, and I said, I'm going to have to write this down and talk about this. I always say you meet their needs and you manage their wants. And children's love language is fun. Their needs are fun. And I was talking to this client and I said, I put a lot of effort into their needs, which encompass fun and play and happiness. Their love language is fun. I put a lot of work into their needs. I don't just feed them and house them. Their love language, when they're little especially, is fun. And I put a lot of work into that. I made sure I was a huge source of fun with my kids. It gave me a lot of power, okay, as a leader. Because when you connect on that level and you're really fun, their love language is fun. When you're fun with your children, you're playing with them, they just look at you differently. It's mostly, that's what leadership's all about, is connecting with your kids. It's not about discipline. I didn't even discipline my kids past about 3.5, I would say. They were self-disciplined. They knew all it took was mom's look. Like if they were doing something I didn't like, I'd just look over and, oh, instantly, sorry, mom. It was that easy. They were proud of themselves. So yeah, meet their needs, manage their wants. Oops, what time is it? Okay. So I'm just going through all my notes because and not a lot of people are on here right now, so I've got time to look at my notes. And I like to just reemphasize some of the stuff that I talk about all the time. And if it doesn't come up in a question, I don't tend to talk about it. So I want to hit some real high points, some real sort of pillar content that's really important. This is, oh geez, I don't know if anyone on here. Does anyone have teenagers on here? Because I'd really love to tell this story about my son. Does anyone here have teenagers that you'd be interested in a teenage story? All your kids are going to be teenagers one day anyway. But this, I don't want to tell this story right now unless you have teenagers. So, oh, by the way, oppositional defiant disorder isn't a real thing. And ADHD is not a disability. Just treat them like every other kid, okay? You share your teenage story. Okay, I'm going to tell you how I connected with my son. He was 14. We were best friends, best buddies. I started to see his voice was changing. He was getting taller. He shot up 6 inches in like a year or under a year. And he was just becoming a man. And things were shifting and changing. We didn't have as much in common anymore. You know, he was like my girlfriend, right? So, and he even said to me, I'm not your girlfriend anymore. Turning into a man. Oh, luckily, I had a daughter coming up. So she was getting into the teen years. Anyway, so he was 15 years old. And one morning, I remember this like it was yesterday, he was just turned 15. And every morning I'd come downstairs, he'd be in the kitchen. And I'd say, morning, sweetie. And he'd go, morning, mom. And I'd laugh at his voice cracking and we'd start laughing and we had a great day, right? We were really close. Like we had a lot of fun. And then one morning I got up and I said, morning, sweetie. And he turned around and he just looked different. His expression looked different. And he went, morning, mom. Like his voice had changed, no more crackling. Like it was like he turned into a man. All of a sudden, we weren't chatting as much. He wasn't just using as many words. You know how they say women do talk 4 times as much as men do? Well, he was turning into a man. He wasn't talking as much, and we didn't have much in common. He loved video games, computer games, heavy metal music. I wasn't into any of that stuff. So I thought, I know enough. I'm not stupid. I know enough. You got to connect in their world. You don't connect in your world, you connect in their world. So I thought, well, I'm not into any of that stuff. So I know what I'll do. So what I did was I sat down on the couch beside him down the rec room where he played his video games. And I just had a magazine with me. I didn't say a word. I just sat down and had a magazine and I'm just sort of leafing through it. And then I'm looking at his game every so often and I didn't say anything. And then next thing you know, he starts talking about the game. So I'm asking questions. Next thing you know, he's handing me a controller. And over time, we ended up playing games together. And I got into it. So you connect in their world. But I always say you be furniture. I just sat down and I was just making it very obvious I was open to being invited in. But I didn't ask myself in. I wait till I was invited. Anyway, so then we're playing video games. And this was hilarious. So we finally found I could actually do Guitar Hero. Not well, but I could actually play it. So anyway, but this up until then we were doing this racing game, and the one that he liked was that stealth one, people running and driving in and out of scary situations. I never knew who I was as the character, like I couldn't figure it out. But anyway, the racing one I could sort of see. You're in the car and you're driving a car. So anyway, so I was horrible at it. I was always flipping the car, running over mothers with strollers, rolling off cliffs. I couldn't even do one lap. I was that bad. So, because I like speed. So, of course, I'm going fast, but I'm just, going off cliffs. So anyway, we're laughing at me the whole time. And it was fun. He goes to the bathroom and he comes back. And I said, babe, you wouldn't believe what happened. I did the most perfect lap. It was perfect. And I kept doing it. And it was unbelievable. It was like, I just get it. And he looks at me and he goes, Mom, that was my replay. It was his replay. I thought I was playing. So you don't have to be good in their world, but you have to show an interest in their world. Then he started making me playlists of his heavy metal music. I got really into it. I got really into NWA's Greatest Hits, became my favorite album. I couldn't play that without the windows in my minivan being up. So, but yeah, I opened my mind to his world and I showed an interest in it, but I wasn't phony about it. Like if he would play a whole bunch of songs for me, I'd say, no, hate it, hate it, hate it. And then I'd say, oh, I don't mind that one. It was usually a heavy beat, like a drum one. And so, yeah, then he ended up making me playlists. And that's how we connected as he was growing up. We connected in his world, but I was polite about it. I wasn't pushing myself in. And but anyway, that's how you do it. You respect them enough to enter their world, but wait till they invite you. But make it very obvious you're willing to be invited in. Okay, does that make sense? Felt like a really long story. Okay. I have a 4-year-old who is very bossy. If I'm disciplining another child, she will mimic what I say to that child. Okay. That's a tell. It means she doesn't respect you. She thinks she can be the boss because you're not. Okay. So in other words, she doesn't trust you to be in charge or a leader. Check out my boot camp course. That might be a good fit for you. It's a whole process. It's not like here's what you do. It's a whole process. It goes for 5 weeks. It's videos and written and all. It's an online course. And you can pace yourself out when you want, but don't rush it. It's a 5-week course. You can make it 6 or 7 weeks, but don't rush it. And over the holidays, it's really good. You can sort of take it, you can do it wherever you are. But anyway, it's a good time to do it right now. But yeah, just means she doesn't respect you. That's all. We're never fixing kids here. We're teaching parents. What do you think is an appropriate restaurant behavior? Oh, this just came up with a client this morning. What do you think is appropriate restaurant behavior for a 2-year-old? Well, there's not appropriate restaurant behavior for a 2-year-old. There's appropriate 2-year-old management for a parent. And here's what I did. We took our kids out everywhere. They were really good, but I knew how to manage it. So what I did was if we were going to go to a nice restaurant and we had little kids, I would feed them before we went out because they don't always like the food that we were eating when we go out. So I made sure they had quite a bit of food in them first. And And then I would take them out to the park on the way there, run them around the park for a few minutes, get out some of their energy. Then we'd get there, and they knew, they were very polite at home. So they knew you sit in your chair and you eat, and that's it. So I knew they wouldn't get up, but I wouldn't just expect them to sit there bored out of their minds. I always pulled out of my bag. I had a new coloring book, some crayons, something to do, or silly putty, something they could, newsprint. I'd bring newsprint. So I always made sure they had something to do, but I didn't have toys like, running cars around. It was always like artwork, creative stuff. So yeah, I met their needs. You meet their needs and manage their wants. So I fed them before we went. I burned off some energy before we got there. And then I brought them something to do. And they sat there good as gold. Okay. I remember we used to go to this place called the Sushi Train in Australia where we lived, where our kids were born. And I remember watching this one family, and it's the sushi train. The dishes go around. You just take whatever you want, right? And you pay according to the colored plates. So I saw all these parents letting their little ones just grab plates. And then they get mad when they grab the wrong plate. They don't understand exceptions. So never let them take any plates. And then they'll understand. No, that's the wrong one. You only take this one. And it's like it's so confusing, so many mixed messages. And I'm like, can't you see what you're doing? Like, it's so frustrating for me. But yeah, my kids were never allowed to touch a plate when they were really little. Because I knew if you let them do it once, they're going to expect to do it every single time. It's like grocery shopping, and you got a kid sitting up in the seat, and you say, sure, you can help with groceries. Here, grab the paper towel, put it in the back. Then you go along and there's a jar of pickles. You don't want them to grab that and put it in the back. They don't understand that. And they have a tantrum and you can't figure it out. I told you, you can't have the pickles. They're 2 years old. They don't get it. So yeah, a lot of it's all parental error, that kind of stuff. They just don't see that. They don't see that a 2-year-old does not understand exceptions. If they're good at home and they eat well at home, they're going to be good when they go out. You know what I mean? So yeah, meet their needs and manage their wants. I see a lot of stuff when I'm out and about, and yeah, I observe, and I think it's getting better. For years there, I saw that pleaser parent style had just taken over because it was all invented to make the mom feel good about herself. It has nothing to do with the kids, and it's a disaster. And you're raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. It's woke victims. It's just a disaster. I saw that coming in 40 years ago with the participation awards, and I couldn't believe my ears. You mean you get an award just for turning up? Anyway, but I see a lot of stuff out there, and I see things starting to shift. Parents are getting more in charge. They're not just, what do you want? And what do you want? You want the swing. And, maybe if you ask her nicely, she'll get off the swing. And, always trying to make your child entitled and trying to please them. And you're terrified of a scene. Every fit scene, tantrum, and meltdown is an opportunity for you to exercise your leadership. Don't shy away from it. Walk toward it. If a kid wants to have a scene with me, I'm like, have at it. That's my opportunity to exercise my leadership. Anyway, I got to go. If you want to follow me over to Instagram, that's where I'm headed now. Otherwise, just check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. I have a wait list for coaching right now. But I think I'm going to take on another client today. I just don't know. I haven't figured out the age that I'm looking for right now. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Happy parenting. So are YouTube. You just have to wait while I get set up on Instagram. Here we go. I only had 35 people in my live in Facebook. I think it's the time, the holidays, summer. Okay, I wonder how many people we're going to get here today, because I had a really small amount in Facebook because people are going away. They're on holidays right now. So, okay, I've got 124 so far here, 125. Yeah, we'll get going, 134. Okay, we'll get going. Welcome to my Instagram live. If you just followed me over from Facebook, welcome. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for traveling over. And also, I just want to say thanks so much for your following. In the last couple days, I got to 1.3 million followers across my platforms. And 2 weeks ago, I was 1.2 million. So I'm just grateful. I can't believe it. I'm just an old lady sitting here talking about parenting. But anyway, thanks so much for that. I really do appreciate it. It's not lost on me. It's wonderful. So thanks so much. And it's really nice when you feel I'm very passionate about what I do. And the bigger the audience, the more passionate I get. Like it's exciting because I know I'm sharing this information. By the way, I want to make it very clear. I'm very open-minded. My way works for me. It's worked for hundreds of kids and hundreds of clients that I've worked with over the years. But it's probably not the only way. If I'm not resonating with you, move on, go talk to someone else, because it's very important not just to listen to what I'm saying, but if you don't resonate with it and you're not going to do it, there's no point. So I'd rather you just take action. If I don't resonate with you, follow someone where you'll actually take action. Okay. And that's my little lecture, and I'm all done now. Anyway, check out the link above. You can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, so you can look into coaching. Did I already say that? Anyway, never mind. I do have a wait list for coaching right now, but I do have an opening. I'm going to be taking a new person on today. So I just haven't figured out what age I want yet, because I like to mix up the ages. Otherwise, I think a few weeks ago, I had like, in the last few months, I had like almost all toddlers, and then I had almost all teenagers. It's really weird. I wasn't thinking it through. I just wasn't getting organized with that. Okay, and it's hard, the teenage stuff, especially if I get crisis work. It's hard if I have several teenage sessions a day. I have to put on my thinking cap for that. I take it seriously. There's, the bigger the kid, the bigger the problems, right? What do I do about my whiny 3-year-old? The mother feels like when the kid oh, well, you're not the mother? I only teach parenting. I can't give advice outside of parenting. Almost 2-year-old is stuck under me and doesn't want dad or anyone else. Suggestions to get him more socially acceptable. Oh, just throw him out there. My daughter was kind of like that. She was glue with me. And so I used to get her dad to give her a bath because she just wanted mom all the time. And then she'd say, and she was an easy little kid, so she wouldn't cry or anything. But she'd just say, Mommy. And I said, no, you're stuck with dad. That's it. And he'd say, yeah, you're stuck with me. And so she just got used to it. And then I took her out and I just throw her into stuff. She hated it. She really wanted to be with me all the time. And and it's not healthy for them. So I remember she was up on her feet. She was like 1.5 or under that, probably about 15, 16 months. I was going to say, is that 1.5? No, can't do math very well. So anyway, and then I went to the gym every day and dropped her off in the gym daycare. And that was good for her. She never cried or anything. She was a super easy kid, but she just always looked sad. And I said, no, you'll be okay. And she just learned, but you got to force it. They're not going to go along with it. Just force it. Say, oh, well, you're stuck with dad. That's it. You're all right. You'll survive. And then just walk out of the house and do something. Okay, well, I'll do one question right now. This is, how do you teach turn taking to an almost 3-year-old? Say, wait your turn, and if not, there's a consequence. Use the behavior board. If it's a real issue with that child, just say, take your turn. If you don't, there's a consequence. If you see him you got to watch that though. You got to police it. If you're going to correct a behavior, you have to treat it like a job, and you want to be as consistent as possible. So yeah, put it on the behavior board. No butting in line, or take your turn. And then if he doesn't, then there's a consequence. The behavior board's completely free. It's in the link above. My daughter did, she redid all my, if you click in the link, she added a bunch of stuff in there. She was telling me about it this morning. I never look at my stuff. She does all that. She keeps sending it to me. Is this okay? And I just go, fine. Oh, geez, she's going to hear this. No, I don't, sweetie. I do look at it. Yeah, I do. Really, I do. Anyway, I'm going to be in trouble now. Okay, I do look at it. I do. I just know the conversation I'm going to have after she watches this now. Oh, God. How do you teach a 3-year-old to maintain eye contact? Is that a big deal? I don't understand that. Just because they're not looking at you doesn't mean they don't hear you. Who cares if they're looking at you or not? I don't know what you mean by that. I have no idea. You think that because they're not looking at you, that's the reason they're not listening to you? Has nothing to do with it. No. I'm suggesting they don't respect you. Work on your leadership skills. Remember, we're never fixing kids here. They're not broken. They're just a reflection of your parenting. So work on you. You set yourself up as a leader, and they're going to respect you. They're going to want to please you. It's just a natural instinct. I've worked with hundreds of kids, and I always managed to get respect. Did I just hit them on a good day? Or was it me? Was it my leadership skills? Or was, and by the way, I never worked with an easy kid, not once, not ever. No one ever said to me, here's an easy one, Lisa. They all went, good luck with this one. So yeah, I've never worked with an easy kid or easy teenager, ever. It was all the surly, spiteful, dangerous, violent. Those are all the kids I worked with. I managed to get respect because I worked on me. If they were acting out under my care, I always thought, what am I missing here? What am I doing wrong? Why on earth would I blame them? A leader blames themselves, not the kids. A leader takes responsibility for a child. You don't blame them. You look at yourself, look in the mirror. What am I missing here? Okay, so that's all I teach her. I teach parenting. I don't teach kidding or teenagering. I teach parenting. I teach you how to be a leader, how to get respect. You give it to get it. It's all about connecting with kids. It's not about discipline, by the way. 99.9% of parenting is about connecting with them, making them feel good about themselves. Look at the pool story. It's the very first video here on my channel, and it's called Example of Leadership Parenting, and it's the pool story. It exemplifies exactly how I look at parenting. It's you deal with bad behavior, then you focus on the good kid. I don't teach babysitting, so no, I'll never give advice other than parenting. Plus, if I gave you, why would I do that? If I gave you advice that the parents don't like and you're doing it, see what I mean? I don't do that. I only teach parenting. I get a huge a lot of emails from schools and that wanting me to come in and talk to their teachers. I don't do that. I teach parenting. Huge portion of my clients are teachers, principals, and child psychologists, but I only teach them parenting. I don't discuss their job. I couldn't do their jobs. It's nothing to do with me. It's different. Plus, the way I was with other people's kids was often different from the way I was with my own kids, right? So yeah, I was very respectful of the fact they're not my kids. So I had to use other tactics, and I kind of sort of mix it in with what I'm teaching here. Like what I mean is I very specifically had different methods at home than I had when I was working with other kids. When it came to discipline, I don't go into that a lot. I only talk about home-based discipline. I know you see some kids just an hour a week. Oh, I don't work with kids anymore. I used to. Advice for working moms who see kids for an hour at night, how to practice consistency. It takes time, but not a lot of time. I would suggest as soon as you come home with the kids, just drop down all your bags and play hide and seek with them. Play a game with them. Play balloon tennis. Do a TikTok dance with them. Do something connecting right away. Start the night off right, okay? And then say, okay, so I'm going to make dinner now or whatever you got to do. So yeah, it's all about connecting. You got to make time for your kids, right? I had a client years ago, and they said to me, well, how did they word this? I don't remember, so I'll just misquote them. Something like, how do we parent? We work full time. They own their own business. They worked a long hours. They had a nanny or two nannies, and the grandparents also looked after the kids. And they said, we don't have any time, but we still want to be leaders. And I said, well, I think I'm going to have to give you a refund because you need some time to parent. You need some time to do this. But I think they wanted to just give this information to other people. I don't know. They did end up working with me, and I let it fly. I just laid into them that you got to spend some time with your kids. You have to. So they did. They took a while, though. 3-year-old wants a hug during tantrum. Can we give hugs? No, they're asking for validation. Is this right? Hug me. Validate this. No. That's not a love hug. That's a validation hug. And they will survive that. That's not love at that point. That's validation. Please tell me this is good. Hug means good tantrum. Good tantrum. Yeah. If they're having a tantrum, I don't even pretend I don't even see them. And I might peel them off me. But yeah, there's no way I would give them any attention. None. That's not a love hug. It's a validate my tantrum. Think about it that way. That's all it is. And even afterwards, after it's all done and then they want a hug, you go, you're all right. Okay, let's go read a book. They're still looking to have that tantrum validated. They want it to be rewarded. That's all it is. How can I be more playful? Watch how your kids play and join in. So whatever they're doing, you sit down with them. Don't stand up. Sit down right with them and do it with them. Like copy what they're doing. Enter their world. And then I'll tell you a cute story. I love this story. I had this mom who wasn't connecting with her kid. He was about 8. And she'd never played with him. She goes, I must admit, I don't enjoy kids' games. I'm never been around kids before. And I know I'm not connected with him and I'm worried about it. So anyway, that was my agenda with her. So I said to her, okay, so your rule on the behavior board is no yelling. If you do yell, your consequence is you have to play Lego for 30 minutes. So, and I always tell parents, make sure you break that rule because you want to do the consequence. You want to show them how this is done. So she comes back in week 2 and she goes, oh, I'm so proud of myself. I didn't yell once. I'm like, oh, geez. So she didn't play Lego. So the next week, then I said, yell. You have to, like, don't force it, but if you feel one coming on, let it fly. So she did. She yelled. Then the next week, week 3, she turns up and she has a big smile on her face. And I said, what is it? And she goes, I didn't play Lego for 30 minutes. And I said, oh no, what? And then she goes, I played for 3.5 hours. She sat down and played Lego with her little boy that she'd never played with before. He sat in her lap, and the whole time he kept rubbing his head on her chin. That's the most bonded they've ever been. She sat there for 3.5 hours. She goes, I get it. It's not about the Lego. It's about the connection, the bonding with your kid. I said, exactly. Anyway, I thought that was really sweet. The reason I tell so many stories about clients, obviously never using their names, is because you're not alone. You're not the only one going through this stuff. I've had lots of clients who've said, if we'd known what we know now, we never would have had kids. A lot of clients have said that because I'm a safe place to land, right? So we laugh it off and say, well, let's make it so that you don't feel that way, right? So, but yeah, you're not alone. Lots of people are struggling out there. Don't look at those pretty fancy moms on Instagram that are all, it's everything perfect. Don't look at that. Look at mom fails, funny mom fails. I remember once my daughter was brand new and I already had, my son was 5, he was at school. So I was meeting friends for lunch and I had a newborn. And I turned up for lunch and one of my friends said, is that baby poop on your forehead? I was all dressed up, so I thought, but I had baby poop on my forehead. That's parenting. That's what it's all about. It's messy, it's funny. Sorry, I'm scrolling ahead to make sure you're here when I'm answering the questions. I got asked a really good question today by a client, and she said, what do you do? Like, do you ever resort to phones or screens when you're at a restaurant and you got a little kid? And I said, oh yeah, do whatever you got to do. If you want to sit there and meander over a meal, it's not fair. If you haven't got stuff with you, like I'll give you an example. My daughter-in-law, we went out for lunch with my 5-month-old granddaughter. And she was doing really good. She was just sitting in her little seat and we were eating. We were having a lovely lunch. And then she started to sort of wiggle. And she'd been playing with this little book. She's only 5 months old. Been playing with this little book. But then you can tell she's sort of looking around and she might have started to cry. So quickly we're like, get the video going. So we got the video going and then she was happily watching that. You got to do what you got to do. Don't worry about being perfect with all this stuff. If you're at a restaurant and you want to be able to meander and have fun, put a screen on for a little baby or a kid. There's nothing wrong with that. But anyway, yeah, it was like, get it going now. It was perfect. She never cried once. It's funny. If you want to know what it is, it's that vegetable faces going across a black screen. I don't see it. I don't see what they see in it, but they're just, evidently it's got 18 billion views or something. Huge, huge video. I don't suggest you plunk them in front of that all day long, but if you got to have a shower or you're trying to have a nice lunch, then sure. Why not? Hey Bear saved my life. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do, right? Right? Oh, another one that came up today in that same conversation. She had tons of questions, this client. She had them all written down. She was so organized. It was wonderful. Anyway, she had all these questions written out and she wanted to know, they travel a lot and they have 2 little ones. And she said, well, what about, tantrums or whatever on a flight, whatever. We were talking about flights. And I said, give them whatever they want on an airplane. There's no way I would drag other passengers through the mud just because I don't want to give a tantrum any attention. I would give them attention. I'd give them anything they want on an airplane. They understand the difference between airplane and the rest of life. Okay, they just do. And you're not on the airplane that often anyway, but I would give in to tantrums, give them whatever they want, brand new toys, screens, whatever they want. There's no way I would drag a whole plane full of people through a tantrum. I just wouldn't do it. You got to be socially acceptable too. I remember I was on a flight once, and I don't remember what they said, but the kid was just hanging over this. It's never the kid's fault. It's the parents' fault, right? Hanging over my seat, grabbing my hair. Well, we're trying to teach him that this and that. And I'm like, yeah, do it at home. You know darn well they don't know what they're doing anyway. So it's like, yeah, it's not appropriate to allow your child to disturb other people. all these people recommending all these videos. Hey, you got to do what you got to do, right? And plus, you know what? If you're really at your wit's end, parenting is not about perfection here. It's about being human and doing the best you can. If you're having a really bad day and you're sick and the kid's sick, throw on the TV, throw a screen on. Sometimes your sanity trumps anything else, okay? You got to do what you got to do. So don't worry about being perfect. There's no such thing anyway. Who'd want to be perfect? How boring. I've met people who sort of, oh, they're just wonderful. They're just lovely people. They were often the most boring people in the world. I like imperfections in people. I like humor. I like self-deprecating humor. I got to watch myself. I usually say self-dep. I usually say it wrong. I did that public speaking once, and I couldn't figure out why the audience was laughing. Yeah. And also another thing I get wrong all the time is when you need to decompress, like, oh, I need a holiday. I need to decompress. I always get that mixed up with decompose. So evidently when I'm relaxing, I'm decomposing, which is probably more true anyway. Okay. I do get words mixed up. Six-year-old says mean and hurtful things and name calling when she doesn't get what she wants. If she doesn't get what she wants, then she starts name calling. You don't put attitude on the behavior board, but you can put name calling and swearing. Those are two things you can put on there. You can put down no mean words, which is swearing and name calling. And that's on the behavior board. And then there's a consequence when she does. And don't worry about the attitude part of it. You can't address that. That makes no sense whatsoever. Her attitude is a direct reflection of your parenting. So that's something you've got to get better at parenting, and the attitude is the very last thing to go. The bad attitude is the very last thing to go. You got to earn that. You got to work for that, okay? So put down no bad words, no mean words, no swearing, whatever you want to put down there. So every time she does, there's a consequence. So yeah, attitude is a direct reflection of your parenting. So work on yourself, and it will go away. Okay. Hey, I already know what my answer is, but you're not going to like it. My son, 19 months old, makes tantrums to lift him in my arms, and there's nothing to stop him from crying. There's my answer. Why would you want to stop him from crying? Let him learn. That's how they learn. Their fits, scenes, meltdowns, and tantrums are their brain processing, not getting what they want, when they want, and how they want it. Okay, he has to learn. He can't always have his own way. Let him cry it out. That's him processing the lesson he is learning. Don't try and avoid that. That's what parents always, how do we stop tantrums? Why would you want to do that? That's where the lessons are. That's their brain processing. They can't get whatever they want. That's important. It's an important thing for them to go through all by themselves. You don't intervene in that. Okay, make sure you're meeting their needs. I mean, if you never pick them up and never give them any love, then maybe you got to do it, right? But if you know you're meeting his needs already, that's in the wants department. So yeah, you manage their wants, meet their needs and manage their wants. Don't try and stop the crying. That's where all the lessons are. You just ignore it. If he's having a fit, you just say, oh no, and you go look like you're busy doing dishes or something. Let him cry it out. He'll learn. My son says you're weird. Well, I don't know. How old is he? Is he 2 or 12? Or you got to put an age. I can't answer that. Yeah, good one. Okay, this is from Libby_love421. 4-year-old boy, rule on the behavior board is no hurting sister. Yeah, good one. You always put down no hurting. If they do hit or hurt someone, that's always the first thing you put on a behavior board. And the consequence is let your sister play with one of your favorite toys alone for 10 minutes. Perfect. Or if he doesn't allow that, then it's media blackout 24 hours. That's perfect. That's what I use. That's my example on the behavior board. And the behavior board is completely free, so check that out. If you want to check out the link above, my daughter just redid it all. A whole bunch of it. She was telling me this morning. I'm going to get in trouble because I know I said something earlier I shouldn't have said about that. She asked me to look at stuff to okay it, because it is my company, but she's a partner in the company, right? She's in charge of all the marketing and that. So she's already heard this by now. She'll hear it when she has to watch all these where she gets the videos from. And I said, yeah, she told me she changed it. And I said, yeah, I checked it out and it's all good. I never check what she does. I trust her. Just struck me as funny because she hates that. She hates it when I don't check what she does. But she's better at it than I am. Why would I care? Anyway, yeah, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to get in trouble for lying. Okay. Okay, this one's a tough one. 7-year-old is terrified of my doctor's office visits. He cries when I come back, exhausting. I keep postponing my surgery. How can I help him? That's, when they're genuinely scared, that's tough to deal with. Okay, so he's terrified of your doctor visits because you've got some serious health issue. I don't understand. I don't know the whole picture here. Yeah, I don't know the whole picture. So I don't know if you do have a serious health issue or if it's nothing, no big deal. So I can't comment on it, right? Because it's different. You'd handle that differently. Okay, this one's tough because there's not much I can do, or not much I can recommend. It's Alex. I have split custody, and on my week, he started to yell at me, slap me, be angry at me, and I don't know how to handle it. He's 3 years old and says, Mom tells me not to like you and is mad at me all week. Okay. Without, how do I put this? Without, like, I would have to tell the mom, don't badmouth the father. You just can't do that. So yeah, you're just gonna have to wait it out. They're too young to really get that right now. You can't argue about, well, Mom was wrong, Mom said that, but just say, it's okay if you like me. It's okay. That's okay. But don't say Mom was wrong. Don't criticize Mom. Just say the opposite, but say it in a positive way. It's tough. It's very tough. I deal with a lot of stuff like this in coaching. And if the other parent is doing bad stuff, if I don't have access to that other parent, how can I possibly, so I just got a hiccup, how can I possibly help them? Yeah. I once taught a course, ran a seminar, actually. That's what I called it. Anyway, it was called Parenting Through Divorce. And what I did was, it was in person. I used to do a lot of in-person stuff years and years ago. And I'm getting the hiccups. I can feel it. Anyway, let me have a drink of water. Anyway, so I told parents, and I said, well, what I want you to do is I only ran it if they could both turn up. That was the prerequisite. So, and no girlfriends, boyfriends, nothing like that. Just the two biological parents and I asked them, I said, I want you to meet in the parking lot, walk in together and sit together. Well, they were fighting out in the parking lot, fighting down the hall, fighting when they sat down beside each other. I was mad. I'll admit it. I was disgusted. And I was waiting for them all to come in. I'm just standing there like this. So finally they all sat down and I said, I'm disgusted with you people. I said, do you do this in front of your kids? Like, they do it in public. They do this in front of their kids. Love your children more than you hate each other. Okay. You chose to bring those kids into the world. And I'm not talking to you directly, but just generally, you chose to bring those kids into the world together. They're victims of you and your anger. They don't give a crap if you're together or not. They really don't. They only care that you get along. My kids sailed through our separation and all that because we always got along. We still turned up everywhere. We still spend Christmases together and all that. And you're stuck with that person for the rest of your life. So you're going to have to make the most of it. If they're taking the low road, you take the high road. I'll admit, both me and my ex, we both took the high road. There are a few little bumps along the way, but not much. Okay. So, but yeah, if you're the only one taking the high road, keep staying on it. Okay. Don't meet the other person down there. Hopefully they'll meet you one day, or else they may never. Don't worry about that. You can only do what you can do. But yeah, kids don't care if you're together. They do it's all the fighting that they hate. I had a friend when I was growing up, and their parents used to fight. I've never seen parents fight before. And I remember that like it was yesterday. It scared the hell out of me. And I was just visiting. And I'd never seen parents, they weren't physically fighting, but they were yelling at each other. I never heard my parents raise their voice. So it's not the separation that they hate, it's the fighting. It scares them. So yeah. When they tantrum and cry and scream, what's your question? 4-year-old full out screaming meltdowns. You got to work on your parenting with that. By 4 years old, they should be kind of outgrown that. So when you're a leader, it calms them down. It helps them to regulate their own emotions. You can't regulate their emotions. They have to do it themselves. So it means that they don't feel safe or protected or like they have a leader. They love you, but they don't feel like they have a leader, or else they wouldn't have meltdowns. It's a loss of emotional control. and they can't regulate their emotions because they don't have a leader. That's generally how it goes. So check out my boot camp course. That might be a good fit for you. It goes from 3 to 12 years old, and it's all about you and your leadership skills. Okay. It's in the link above. Example of consequence when a 4-year-old yells and says mean things. Well, that's in the attitude department unless they're swearing or name calling. If they just say, I hate you or whatever, I would just go, whatever, and then just walk away. Yeah, I wouldn't give that any power. It says it's a tell. It means it must work. It must bother you. They're using it to control you, guaranteed, 100%. So work on your leadership skills. That stuff just doesn't happen when you're a leader. It just doesn't. You got to put the ages. I was going to answer it, but I don't have an age there, so I can't. Okay. Okay, you're going to hate my answer, but you need to hear this. How can I get my 15-month-old to stop smacking his 7-week-old sister in the face? You cannot expect a 15-month-old to babysit and be responsible around a newborn. That's absolutely ludicrous. They're still a baby themselves. They don't understand concussions, death, bleeds. They just don't understand that stuff. So yeah, just protect the newborn. Don't leave them alone. And if they start going towards the newborn, get between them. You cannot expect a 15-month-old to be responsible around a baby. That's on you. That's your responsibility, not theirs. They'll eventually learn. Love all your tips. They are so helpful, but I really need to know what is upper body workout. Oh, yeah, I do work out every day. Nothing special. I just work out every day. Although today I was doing my usual knee lifts. I do it for the V, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. I can't show you it, but anyway, that's why I do the knee lifts, hanging knee lifts. There was a girl that she goes, oh, can I work in with you? Because I had a chair to get this thing. And she goes, can I work in with you? And I said, sure. So here I am doing my little old lady knee lifts, and she just does pull-ups, and she has a chain and weights hanging off the chain, and she's doing full pull-ups. And then I had to get on between there and do the little lady knee lifts. I said, what's your secret? And she goes, it took me 1.5 years to do this. And I thought, yeah, I've been coming here for a lot longer than that. I can't even do one pull-up. Oh, that's funny. So yeah, nothing impressive. I'm just at the gym every single morning. I do work out every day. Okay. Okay. I don't know who you're answering here, Kenzie. And maybe it's Grinnan Kofman. My daughter gets very sensitive and starts crying when I try to give her feedback about something she did wrong. She doesn't like any criticism or anything. And then someone wrote, because you trust her, it's a compliment to her. Is that what you're answering there? Because I would totally disagree with that. Okay, so my daughter gets very sensitive and starts crying when I try to give her feedback about something she did wrong. She doesn't like any criticism or anything. I don't know how old she is, but it's a bit of a tell. It means that you're actually criticizing her. Why are you criticizing her? Do you need to give her feedback? Did she ask for it? Yeah, I don't know what you're getting at there. I'd want to know. The only reason you didn't put an age, the only reason I'm asking is, what are you criticizing? What are you critiquing? Is it something that's necessary, or are you just insulting her, basically? I'll tell you a funny story about that. I remember years ago, someone said to me, and I'm 63 now, but I was a lot younger. I was probably 50. And they said, well, you know, Lisa, your hair is lovely, but I think at your age, it'd be a lot more flattering if it was shorter. It wasn't as long. It's long now. It wasn't this long. And that's not helpful. That's just, it's called passive aggressive. And so in other words, they're insulting me, calling me old, and the old lady shouldn't have long hair. So I don't think I've cut my hair since. I give it the odd trim, but it was not someone that, you know, like it. My daughter once said something to me about long hair. I'm not referring to her when I say this, because she says, is that me you're talking about? She just said she likes me with shorter hair once. So it was not her I was talking about. Okay. You once said when you're ignoring a tantrum, this is a really good question, by the way. You once said when you're ignoring a tantrum to not be on your phone because it's rude. I say that all the time. Yeah. Instead, file your nails. What about reading a book? What is rude versus what is just keeping yourself occupied? Reading a book is more your mind is elsewhere. Looking at your phone, your mind is elsewhere. Filing your nails, you want to look like this is on your mind. The tantrum is on your mind, but this is how you're reacting to it. I would look out at the trees. I would maybe be doing dishes, but I wouldn't do something that makes it look like my mind is otherwise occupied. I wouldn't read. I wouldn't get into a conversation with someone. I wouldn't go on my phone. It's important that they look like you're just doing a little chore, filing your nails, waiting for that ridiculous tantrum to stop. That's the message you're sending. See the difference? What do you do about an 8-year-old boy who talks back and has smart remarks? He's just reflecting your parenting, so work on yourself. They're between the ages of 3 and 12 years old, all of their behavior is a direct result of your parenting. It's a direct result of your leadership or lack of. So work on your leadership skills, and they don't talk back. They just don't do that. So yeah, it's just a tell. It means you're not a leader. Work on you. Check out the boot camp course. That's all about you and your leadership, and it teaches you how to be a leader by giving respect to get it. You meet their needs and manage their wants. Okay, I got to go. I got to move over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. Otherwise, check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. I have a wait list for coaching right now, but I am taking on a new client tonight. I just haven't figured out the age yet. I like to mix up the ages. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. And I'm on YouTube the whole time. Those are where all my lives are saved. And I'm heading over to TikTok now. Happy parenting. Bye now. Okay, so I got 1,400 people on that live, but on Facebook I only got 35. I just can't figure it out. Can't figure it out. So it's not the holidays. I don't understand social media. Okay. Just waiting for people to turn up. So I have to take a break between social media. I've been talking too long. Okay, this is from Tessa on YouTube. Now, Tessa says, my 3-year-old son has intense meltdowns, screaming and crying to the point where he acts like he can't breathe. If he's acting, he's very good. Everything in me says to just pick him up and calm him down. If I ignore him, I have to leave the room. Is it too much for me? How old? 3. You put me in an awkward position. Is he going to die because he's holding his breath? I don't think so. I would still ignore him. I've known lots of kids who've thrown up and everything just to get attention from their parents, and I recommend ignoring it. Just clean it up, but ignore it. And I can't tell you what to do if they start to turn blue because they're holding their breath. Medically, I can't tell you what to do. I know what to do, but I can't tell you because I'm not a doctor. But I still don't give them any attention. So yeah, I'm in an awkward position here because I know exactly what I do, but I can't really go on about it too much. Because, maybe they are going to go into a medical emergency, so give them attention if you feel that's necessary. I wouldn't, but yeah. No great advice there. Well, I do, but I just don't want to say it. 4-year-old starts crying. Is this the same person that was just on Instagram? I'm not sure. 4-year-old starts crying when I try to tell her she did something wrong. Example, something dangerous or just bad or disrespectful. Well, you don't correct disrespectful behavior. Yeah, you were the one. When I tell her to do something wrong, something dangerous, just say that's dangerous. The fact that she's crying says to me that you're critical. It just does. It says to me that you go overboard with that you're going on too much about what she does wrong. Do you play with her a lot? Do you sort of make her feel good about herself? Because that's low self-esteem, by the way. That's why she does that. It's low self-esteem. So yeah, work on your leadership skills. Just try my behavior board. If not, if you want to go up a notch, go to the boot camp course. Okay, what are your thoughts on putting a lock on a 3-year-old door? I know someone who does that and feels wrong. I do not recommend that at all. The only time I kind of recommend that, or no, I don't ever recommend it actually, but if you have an autistic child, a child who might get up in the middle of the night, who doesn't know better, and they might turn on the stove and do something dangerous, perhaps it's necessary. But even then, I would use alarms or bells. I would put something on their door where I could hear them opening it. But I think it's important that they are allowed to get out of their room. But yeah, there are the odd exceptions, but they are exceptions. They're not the rule. So yeah, I don't like it. It kind of says that the parents are out of control. That if you need a lock, there's better ways to do that. My child hits when I say no hitting, and then I say no hitting and swipes. Yeah, that's right. That's what they're going to do. You might want to check out my Toddlers Who Hit course. It's one of my mini courses. It's in the link above. And it's just basically you use physical actions to restrain them. You restrain them if they're hitting. You say no once, and then you just restrain them. If they go to hit again, you block it. And you don't look at them, though. You don't look at them. They're not about words. They're about actions. Just don't allow them to keep hitting. 1-year-old scratching my face. Why do they have access to your face? As soon as they scratch it, I'd grab their hand and say no. And I might put them down. You got to be fast with that, though, so they connect it. So they learn every time they scratch, they get put down, but they're only one. So, yeah. But don't allow that. Like, just see it coming and grab their hand. It's a temper tantrum to go do something fun. I don't know what you mean. How old? And I don't know what you mean. How to build self-esteem in kids. Give them something to be proud of. Their behavior, for one thing. That's why it's so important to be a leader, because you bring out the best in kids. And when they're nice to people, they feel good about themselves. They have high self-esteem. Being good people increases their self-esteem. If you allow them to be snotty and disrespectful and misbehaved, their self-esteem is in the toilet. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. My son's grade 2 teacher called me on her lunch break to tell me this. She said, I have to tell you this. It was so funny. She asked my son, why are you so nice? And he just looked up at her. Mommy makes us be nice. Like they knew they were nice kids. They were proud of themselves. And plus, they heard it everywhere they went. Your kids are so nice. Oh, my goodness, they're so nice. That makes them feel good. Give them something to be proud of. Good behavior is something to be proud of. You can do that by being a leader for them. My teenage son is lazy, right? Sounds like a teenager to me. You just have to have incentive, okay? You can withhold a phone or something, but there's very specific ways of doing that. You don't just take a phone and say you got to get an A. You got to start negotiating with teenagers. If you want to hire me, that would be coaching. Okay, but I'm going to read out my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1 is you listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. Number 2 is you negotiate pretty much everything with the teenager. It's not a blanket statement, but it goes something like this. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? I added a brand new one. These are not my top 3 tips. I just added it like an hour ago. It's my top 4 tips for parenting teenagers because I added this one. I said, don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. A lot of parents are really struggling to get closer to their teenagers. And as soon as you do listen to understand and show empathy and you show an interest in their interests, and then they start opening up and talking to you, do not leverage those good times to talk about the bad times. Now that we're close and we're chatting, I want to talk about your attitude this past 2 years. They will shut you out. Just enjoy the good times and let it go. Number 4 is don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. Okay, if they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? Or do you want to hear what I did this morning? It's okay to make mistakes and laugh it off. Okay, yeah, I just added that tip today. It was a good one. Yeah, don't leverage the good times to talk about the bad times. Too many parents do that. They see that doorway in, the kids are teenagers finally starting to talk to them, and then they use that to get back all the vengeance. Remember the time you said that? Remember this? It's a disaster. Yeah. Oh, I don't teach teaching at all. I only teach parenting. I'm not a teacher. And a lot of stuff crosses over, but most of it doesn't, by the way. A huge portion of my clients are teachers. They struggle with their own kids at home. Home-based, institution, business. They're just different completely. I'll give you a really good example of something that's a total disaster at home, but works very well in classrooms. Okay, this is why I don't teach teaching. It's not my thing because they're different. Okay, So in a classroom, you can have a reward chart for good behavior. You got 30 kids, they don't take it personally, okay? At home, if you put a reward chart for good behavior up for your own kids at home, you know what you're saying to your kids? The message you are sending is, you're normally rotten, but if you should happen to be good, you'll get a reward. See the difference? It's personal. Very different. That's why a huge portion of my clients are teachers, principals, child psychologists. I couldn't do any of your jobs. But they struggle with parenting. Parenting is personal. It's different. There's a whole bunch of stuff that just doesn't cross over. You can have all the degrees you want about kids, but parenting is personal. It's completely different. That's all I specialize in, is parenting. Because when I was working with kids, and I've worked with hundreds of kids and teenagers, I was mothering them. I was very much in a maternal feeling role. I wasn't there teaching them stuff. The teenagers used to laugh because I was supposed to be helping them with math or something, and they'd laugh and they said, "Could you even do grade 3 math?" No, I don't think so. No, I was there for behavior mentor, like as a behavior mentor. But anyway, yeah, it's very different roles, extremely different. Like I've got one principal. She was so cute. She was one of my favorite clients last year. She was just a doll. And she's just funny and she's really interesting. And she's a principal. She goes, so easy running a school, running my own kids at home, very different. So yeah, she can run a whole school, but running, her own household with her own kids, because it's personal. Do you have any book recommendations? Well, I've never written one and I've never read one because I'm self-taught. Kids taught me all this. So why would I read a book on kids or parenting? It would be someone else's advice and I'd probably disagree with it anyway. So yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea what anyone else out there is doing. I stay in my lane. I'm very careful. I'm very busy teaching what I teach. I don't search out I've been asked to be on some pretty big shows discussing different parenting methods. What a waste of my time. Why would I get on there and argue with other parenting coaches? Like, what a tacky thing to do anyway. Yeah, I wouldn't do it. How do we say no to a 2-year-old without saying no? Why would you not say no? It's ridiculous. You don't want them to understand the word no? You don't want your children to ever hear the word no? You're going to raise self-entitled snowflakes there. They got to learn to hear the word no. It's important. I know there's this whole movement out there, never say no and all that stuff. Yeah, they're usually my clients down the road, so that stuff backfires big time. That's that pleaser parent style, and it's kind of a disaster. The old-fashioned authority style parent back in the 50 years ago, whatever, parents were in charge, my way or the highway. The parents were never accountable. Not a bad way to parent. The kids turn out pretty good. They will rebel in the teen years often, but they come out the other end just fine, and they're tough because they've learned rules, right? The new fangled pleaser parent style, which is going out of style, I can see it now. Finally, God, I've been watching this for 40 years. It came in with participation awards, the stupidest thing I ever heard of. Well, one of them. Anyway, so the pleaser parent style, total disaster. Heaven forbid our children should cry, hear the word no. We have to make everything fun. In other words, you're going to raise self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. They're the woke victims of today. That's what you're doing. It's just a total disaster. They're weak. They never respect their parents, ever. They rebel through the teen years, and they often shoot out the other end, not in very good shape. They're very weak. They don't have any resilience. Because they've never learned right from wrong. They've never learned that they actually have to earn something, that they don't get everything their own way. It's a disaster. You're not doing your kids any favor. Okay, so you got the old-fashioned authority, then you got the newfangled pleaser parent. I'm a leader. I don't do either. Okay, it's just about teaching them accountability through watching you. I'm accountable. Boy, if I messed up, my kids loved it. They'd look at each other like this. And I thought, oh, shoot, I did mess up. I said I was going to do something. I forgot. You forgot, Mom, you forgot. And I'd say, what do you want? And they'd say, well, we'd love to go to the water slide park after school tomorrow. So I was accountable, right? I'm very much the leader, but I was accountable. That's what leadership is. You lead by example. My job was to make them like themselves when they were with me. And kids who are acting out do not like themselves. They have very low self-esteem. So I was raising kids who felt really good about themselves. They respected me. They respected themselves. Okay. And then everything was easy. I kind of sailed right through the teen years. There's no rebellion with leadership parenting. Like my son was 15. He would have rebelled. He had that in him. But he said to me, I could never rebel with you because you're too reasonable and easy to talk to. And I was like, geez, sorry. That's a shame. But yeah, they can't rebel because you're a leader. There's nothing to rebel against. You ever had a coach or a teacher that you really looked up to that made you feel great about yourself? Would you ever be rude to that person? That's what I teach. It's that kind of stuff, right? They want to please you. They don't want to disappoint you. You make them feel great about themselves. The pool story is the very first video that's pinned here on my TikTok, and it's called Example of Leadership Parenting. And it's my pool story. That I've told it a million times, but that video is the best because I hit on every single point in that particular video. So that one's pinned. And it just exemplifies how I look at how you should treat children. You deal with bad behavior. I don't take any crap. I deal with bad behavior, but then all my focus goes on the good kid. I want to bring out the good in them. I want to make them feel good about themselves. If they feel good about themselves with me, they want to please me. They feel good about themselves. Think about it. It's very powerful. And it's easy. It's hard to get. But once you've got it, maintaining leadership is easy. Getting this, you got to earn it. You got to work for it. I worked my butt off for this. I worked my butt off learning this. Although I must admit, I think it kind of came to me naturally in a lot of ways. I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11 years old. And even back then, the daycare ladies used to say, how do you do that? The kids look up to you, but you're fun too. Like they want to please you. And I didn't know how to answer that. I was 11. So I was always kind of good at being fun, but also getting respect. They wanted to please me. I could tell you story after story of kids I babysat and everything. And I was just a teenager and I still knew how to get the best out of kids. So yeah, it's just a leader. You just be a leader. Make them feel good about themselves though. There's no shame. If you're disciplining a child and they feel shame, you're doing it wrong. There should be no shame. Hey, you messed up. Here's the consequence. Okay, do you want to go to the park? Tips on 10-year-old constantly arguing when told to do something. They're just reflecting your parenting. Okay, work on your parenting, and that just doesn't happen. They don't argue with leaders. So check out my boot camp course. It goes from 3 to 12 years old. It's all focused on you and your leadership. When you're a leader, they don't have attitude. It just doesn't happen. So check it out. Public tantrums, the same as private tantrums. If you're a different parent, they're not going to respect you when you go out. So yeah, it's the same thing. But you don't... if it's in a restaurant or somewhere, you don't want to disturb other people, you drag them out to the parking lot or put them in the car, and then you ignore them. I don't have a book. I've never written a book, and I've never read a book on kids or parenting. So does it work on 15-year-olds? It's different. I do specialize in teenagers, but that's really mostly in coaching. So I'll read out my top 4 tips for parenting teenagers, although I just read that out. And I just read it, so I don't think I'll read it again. It used to be 3 tips. I added one. But yeah, teenagers, it's all just coaching. If you want me to work with me, there's a wait list for coaching. You'd have to check that out in the link above. And my daughter just she did a whole bunch of, yeah, it looks really good. She just worked on my link there. It looks good. Oh, this is Tessa. Okay, good. He doesn't hold his breath. This is her child who says he looks like he's going to pass out. He holds his breath during a tantrum. So therefore, she feels like she has to intervene or leave the room so that he won't do that. So I'd rather just stand there, let him do it, and file my nails. That's what I would do. So I asked her, I said, does he look like he's going to pass out or something? And she goes, he doesn't hold his breath, but he acts like he can't calm down without me. Should I still ignore? Oh, gosh, yes. Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely. He acts like he can't calm down without me. He can't drag you into it. So as a payoff, you're feeding it. You're fertilizing the tantrum. Any attention is tantrum food. He does it after he wakes up too, so he's not necessarily wanting anything. Well, if they wake up grumpy, you can sit and read a book. Yeah, I still don't really give it any attention. I don't coddle them or anything during a tantrum. But if it's a wake up crankiness, that's not really a tantrum. My son would often wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Yeah. So I would usually just give him a book or read a book to him or just turn on the TV. He needed that downtime to wake up. They say it has something to do with body temperature. I don't know much about that stuff, but. Seven-year-old freaked out when I said I didn't care for his drawing, but glad he loves it, teaching everyone. Why would you say you don't care? You don't like his drawing? Why would you say that? I don't get it. Why would you say you don't like a 7-year-old's drawing? I don't get that. I feel like I'm constantly repeating myself to kids when asking them to do something. So you already answered your own question. You're repeating yourself. I would never do that. Just look at the behavior board. It's completely free, or go to the boot camp course. That's the next level up. It's not free. So you might want to check into your leadership skills, because if you're repeating yourself, like I just wouldn't do it. Once I say something, yeah, it's happening. So, or there's a consequence if it doesn't. But you got to be fair and reasonable. Are you asking them something that's fair and reasonable, or are you just being too demanding some days? I don't know. Sometimes parents are very inconsistent, and then they all of a sudden, okay, that's it. I'm in charge now. Now you listen to me. So one day you're wishy-washy and you're giving in, you're yelling, and then the next day you just say, you got to be consistent. That's what I'm all about. I train you how to be consistent. Check out the boot camp course. Teaches you how to get respect over 5 weeks, and it's consistency, but you start small. You start with a behavior board. It's 3 to 12 years old. Behavior board's like I would never use a behavior board. It's just a teaching tool. You're learning how to do this, and you're starting small, one step at a time. Like I'm level 10 with what I teach because I invented it. So, but when you're learning, you got to do level 1, level 2, level 3. So you're learning, okay? Like I would deal with everything in day 1. Would it all be solved? Not in day 1, probably by day 2 or 3. But I would deal with everything in day 1. If I threw that at you, it wouldn't work. You got to start with 1 behavior per week, and you master that one, then the next one, then the next one. You're starting to get it. You're starting to learn how to do this. Instead of not repeating yourself, do you physically make them do it? Well, I'll just come up with an example. Let's say you got a oh shoot, my computer was going to try and stop. Let's say you got a 3-year-old who doesn't want to get in the car seat. I'd say, okay, time to get in the car. No, and they try and run away. I'd grab them and I'd put them in the car seat. I would make that happen. Absolutely. I wouldn't say anything though. Because once I've said time to get in the car, it's something that has to be done. They know it has to be done. Okay, you make it happen. That's your job to make it happen. It's very different with a lot of stuff, especially as kids get older. Let me think of an example. Let's say they have to put their dishes in the dishwasher. It's a rule in the house, and they have to put the dishes in the dishwasher after they finished eating, and they're 10 years old. And then they just say, no, I don't feel like doing it tonight. I'd say, fine, that's your choice. But there'd be a consequence. They'd probably be doing all the dishes, or they'd have media blackout for 24 hours. So yeah, it's not that I don't repeat myself. I just impose a consequence. So yeah, they just understand you got to be responsible. It's like our whole world, if you think about it, our lives are built around consequences and accountability. You pay your tax. You don't want to pay your taxes, but you do it because you might go to jail if you don't, right? You know, who wants to make a mortgage payment? You do it because they might foreclose on your house. Our whole lives as adults, do your kids a favor and teach them this when they're young, so that when they grow up, they're not self-entitled snowflakes that can't pay a bill and they have huge debt just from shopping. That's what you're doing if you don't teach them about responsibility and accountability. Teach them that they have jobs to do. They have chores. They have responsibilities. If they don't do them, there's a consequence. Do them a favor and teach them this when they're little, so that they're grown up, they'll be responsible adults. And they'll be able to function. They won't be these victims and woe is me. You know, you want to raise children with fortitude. You want to raise young adults who have fortitude. They have strength. They have responsibility. Yeah. Do them a favor. Any advice for a teen that steals? Well, I don't know what kind of parent you are. Why are they stealing? When did that start? How often do they do it? You know, all that sort of stuff. You'd have to hire me for that. I can't answer that here. Because obviously, if they're stealing, I would say your relationship needs a lot of work. And that's what we would work on. Instead of blaming them, look at yourself. What did I miss? How did I drop the ball? Why is my teenager stealing? What did I do wrong? Let's fix it. That's how you do it. That's how we do it. Okay? It's hard work, but I specialize in teenagers. They taught me more about myself than probably anyone ever has. I had no idea I had that much patience. Yeah, I used to mentor troubled teens. And yeah, they're the ones who told me I should teach this too. So how often do you go live? Pretty much every day. Yeah. I've been going live on TikTok now. It's my first social media platform. 2 years ago, I started on here. And I'm live pretty much every day on TikTok for the past 2 years. And then now I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I just want to say thank you for the following. I really do appreciate it. A couple of weeks ago, I hit 1.2 million. And this week, I think yesterday, I hit 1.3 million across my platforms. And I'm very grateful. I can't believe it. Like, I just would never have thought that would have happened. But anyway, I'm very grateful for that. And I'm very passionate about the message I'm sending out there, because I don't just want you to raise nice kids. I want you to enjoy it. I want you to have fun with your kids. I want you to enjoy parenting as much as I did. It was the most fun I ever had. Laughed every single day. I had a blast raising those little kids. I got that pesky discipline and leadership all sorted out when they were little and just sailed right through the teen years. Of course, there's the odd hiccup. Of course, that's life, right? But overall, it was lovely. And I want you to enjoy parenting like I did. Do you believe in spankings? No. No. It's like yelling and hitting are two things that parents do when they don't know what else to do. Okay? There's a lot better ways to deal with things. What if my child says he's gay? Say, okay, that's fine. You know what I wouldn't do? I was just talking about this the other day with someone. And what I wouldn't do is, let's say you got a cross dresser. Okay. So you got a 6-year-old who says, I really want to dress like a girl. I feel like I'm a girl. I would say, okay, at home you can do that, but I wouldn't send them out in the world like that. I would be terrified they'd be bullied. So I would just explain that. And I would say it like this. I'd say, other people don't understand. I said, but if you want to dress like a girl at home, sure, go right ahead. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Allow them to explore these things, but don't pigeonhole them. Don't make them commit to it. Just say, sure, you can give it a go. See if you like it. And then I would get them into therapy pretty quick. If I truly believe that they were gay, well, not necessarily gay. That's mainstream now, but especially cross-dressing. I've worked with a few kids who were cross-dressers, and boy, oh boy, I tell you, people can be so mean to them. I don't care what kids do. It's what happens to them when they go out there in the world, right? So yeah, if they're gay, I always told my kids, if you ever feel like you're gay or whatever, just tell me and we'll discuss it. And you're gay, you're gay. Who cares, right? I've never lived in a city that wasn't sort of accepting of that. I think I heard it's more small towns that aren't as progressive and, are more narrow-minded. But I think most people, does anyone care if anyone's gay anymore? Is that even an issue? I don't know. I know cross-dressing is and stuff like that, transgender stuff. That's still got some work to do on that. Okay, actually, I have to get going. If you want to check out my link above, you can see my free behavior board. I was just going to say something really stupid. I was reading an email and I was going to say what the email said. Okay, sorry. If you want to check out the link above, you can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can look into coaching. I'll be taking on one new client tonight. There's a wait list for coaching. So you'll see if you go on the link above. But really, if you have kids 3 to 12 years old, I always try and point people towards the boot camp course. It's all the general stuff that most families can benefit from. If it's really something out of the norm, then that would be more coaching. Or if it's toddlers or if it's teenagers, that's coaching. Okay. But I have one course called the boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old. It's all encompassing. It's all about all sorts of stuff's in there about sex education, allowance, chores, whatever. It's got everything in there. And but if it's something really different, then that would be coaching. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'll be back again for my regularly scheduled live at 4:30 Pacific time tomorrow, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So other days, I never know when I'm turning up. So happy parenting. Take care. Bye now.